awesome. You were the first people to watch this movie. Thank you.
Really went really well, so I think we have a winner.
Oh.
I wanted to ask a little bit about the beginning of the film. I understand that your original idea is from the John Bishop story, which came to you from Wales. And I wanted to hear a little bit more about the writing process, how you collaborated on the writing, just to start the story.
Sure.
Do you want to take it from the beginning?
How far back do you want to go?
Let's start when we met in Venice.
May 4th, 1970. Kid with a dream. John's story obviously was a big inspiration. I happened to have a great, meet with him, and then inspired my partner Mark Chappell, who's not here with us right now, but Mark and I to investigate, finding a way to tell this story, and then Bradley and I obviously, have known each other a long time. We're talking, and I brought it to Bradley, and he sort of said, "This is great. This is a great story, and I think this is where it could go." And that's how the collaboration started, and really gave us a lot of direction. And Bradley ended up doing this rewrite that really shifted the film and took it to places that we could only dream of.
I was sitting at the school is actually my daughter's school at St. Luke's down in West Village. It's in the movie, and I was we were talking about it. It's like life will tell you what to put, what to do. And I was seeing it. It was the Chinese New Year festival, and that exact group was there, and they're all. I remember I was like blown away, and I was looking at all these parents just on their phone, and I was like, oh, that's the beginning of the movie. And I called them.
Not only that, and Bradley said it should start with this Chinese lion dance at the start. And I was like, what? Well, no, sorry. He sent me a video.
That's right.
And I was like, why are you sending me this video?
This is the beginning of the movie.
He said, this is the beginning of the movie. And we were like, oh, okay, all right.
And also, quite honestly, I in New York, growing up in Philadelphia, New York was like this just idea, this like utopia. And so to be able, then I was lucky enough to go to grad school here and meeting people, like-minded people, and I still believe this city has so much magic. And so the opportunity to tell a story where it is a central part of the film, and then going to comedy clubs when I was a kid, and then when I still remember the first time I went to the Cellar. It's just this magical. I love that they all go upstairs and there's a tree in the front. And so to be able to actually shoot here, and the Bar 6 I used to go to in the late '90s, and I went to grad school right there at 12th and 6th, and I really thought like, oh, if we do that, and it goes to this, that could be a wonderful part, because there is something about New York City. So that was a huge thing when we were talking about how to sort of curve the film and to make it into a new thing. And then it was like we were talking about, and then Laura Dern, quite honestly, it was like Laura and I have been friends forever, and the idea that she would come aboard, and then the fact that she was even interested was really prompted me to like really try to write something that would be worthy of her. And Andrew was a dream cast, Christine's a dream. I mean, the truth is, like, these people are incredible. And Kieran Hines, all the comedians that are in the movie, the boys, my dogs are incredible. Thank you. I'll tell them when I get home that you gave a shout out to Charlie and Lucy.
Maybe we can hear from each of you about you working on the film. Do you want to start, Christine?
Well, I'm just really thrilled that I was able to be a part of this movie. There's the generosity of Bradley Cooper, who really established the tone of the film, was just, it was otherworldly. It's something I really never experienced before, where you could really bring to the table, you have this kind of safe environment where you could bring to the table that anything could happen. And that's the part that was really exciting to have been a part of. It just, so much of the time I was like, how did I get here? It just was such a blessing. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna echo what she said. It's absolutely a blessing, and to speak to his generosity. I mean, we're being honest, this is my fourth movie ever, so the fact that he called and was like, would you be interested? I'm like, yes, hell yes, I would be interested in working with this cast and with this script and with this story. And it was just, the energy, the vibe on set was incredible. And I think there was something really special about having your director also operating the camera. Like, there was just something really authentic about that moment. Everything feels very urgent. Everything feels very in the moment. And it was the script is amazing, the story is amazing. I mean, it's a blessing, it's an honor to be here and to be with this incredible cast. And I feel like I've grown so much as just a performer, as an actor, as just a creative, someone who's passionate in this space. So yeah, yes, I'm echoing what Christine said, but.
I'm going to continue the echo.
Okay, we're good. It's an echo chamber here.
Yeah. Because, in all the incredible ways that you just put what the process was like, and the generosity and the expansiveness of the space where all were included, every crew member, every cast member was a member of this family to find this story. And as writers in the development process of this, to feel like we were all equal partners in this journey was extraordinary, and we know how rare that is. But I just also have to speak to, if I may, that the bravery and the discipline in the filmmaking and the trust of us together with you, Bradley, to find the unbelievable complexity of relationship without necessarily having to tell the background story, have to feed the audience what happened, why it happened, because we all know, which I hadn't seen, both in a script or in a film, allowing us to know we don't know how we got here, because most of us don't in moments of despair in self and relationship. And to have that be the beginning of this journey as you go into your self-discovery, we each do, but also how you can find your way back to each other. There was just such incredible love and integrity and discipline in every way. Bradley invited us to discover that together. And to feel as actors, as artists, as craftsmen and women on set, that nothing is wrong, that everything is an opportunity, is a really rare privilege. As you said, it's a blessing to be in that kind of environment. It only makes everybody.
I just might interject too, that I think that by setting that tone of generosity and safety, everything feels a natural outcome. Nothing feels like it's set up or forced. And just like, meeting Will for the first time, and just, it's like, oh, I'm so grateful to be his mother, It would just...
I want to speak to my own mother, I disagree.
No, it felt so natural. Everything just felt so natural. Like just meeting, for the first time. It's just like, well, haven't I known you always?
Right.
That's what it felt like.
Yeah, I think there was a sort of a chain of sensibility that was common all the way through every step of the process. And from writing and Bradley coming in and really, as I said, sort of changing the direction a little bit. Mark and I said if we'd been left to our own devices, we would have made a pretty good romantic comedy. And Bradley really elevated that process and really, was very demanding in making sure that we understood the complexity, as Laura said, of this relationship. But the chain of sensibility went all the way through. It's certainly in the shooting, as Christine was saying, all the scenes that took place in the family home, where Alice goes back and sees Marilyn and Jan, and it's quite chaotic with the kids and the dogs and everything. And it's a very, sometimes it's kind of a high wire act, and Bradley was, has such a great understanding, as Laura said, of the filmmaking process, and to, really sort of squeeze out, and it really wasn't a squeeze, but to establish a really real environment that feels very much like you're not, so that when you're watching it, you're not necessarily watching it, you feel a part of that sort of that chaos that we all know happens in a family home. And that was one example, and Laura also, and Andrea said, the operating, for me, because of our history, Bradley's operating in his ability to us to have a shorthand where he's not just behind a monitor, that he's right there this close all the time, is now I can't imagine doing it another way, frankly, because it creates this intimacy and it demands a reality that I've never experienced before.
We were all really lucky, the crew, because it's a narrow aspect ratio, and most of it is there are no cuts in these scenes, and so we just got lucky with the actors that are able to do that and behave and in a way that's real but also propulsive and are saying the lines and progressing the story and being utterly truthful the entire time and surprising themselves and us, all within a very narrow sandbox. And that's just, I and the rest of the crew, we just got lucky because it's not easy to do that. And it was just right off the bat. And I was like, oh yeah, and everything just gelled. It really, this was kind of a blessed experience. We shot it in 33 days, and it was, it was wonderful. And we had an incredible crew. The crew really just, Maddie Libatique, did anybody notice Maddie Libatique is the stand-up comic? Maddie's Maddie Libatique is the cinematographer who I've been lucky enough to work with. He's so funny and he has a great face and a wonderful voice. This guy's got one of the greatest voices of all time. And the whole time I was like, when am I going to ask Maddie that he's going to be one of the stand-ups? and then when I did, he was like so game, and it was a real irony that like I'm shooting him acting. That was awesome.
And there are a few crew members in there in various roles and pieces, and it did feel like, it very much felt like indie filmmaking in that way. Like we were just everybody was involved and everybody was, the play was the thing,
You make it sound really easy, so in a way that everybody will shoot in New York soon. Can you talk a little bit maybe of the challenges of shooting in New York in a real location, in places that exist and that people will recognize, as well as, like when you're shooting and working with Mathieu and the cinematography, what idea you have in mind to capture the closeness of the character and then to go back into the streets of New York. It's quite remarkable.
It's a great question. So the first thing, at least for me, it's always like images of what starts to happen, and then the pilot light is lit. And when he first told me about this, and then when I hadn't even read it, but it was this idea of him maybe being a guy who tries stand-up comedy at an open mic, right away I just saw his face in the exact frame that you see in the movie. And I was like, that's how the whole thing should be. No cuts to the audience, just you, because you're so charismatic. I've known you for so long. If you just breathe and show your soul, I think that it can hold. And then everything kind of stemmed from that. I just saw Nosferatu at that time, which I loved the cinema of that. I was just blown away. And I was like, what's that? And then that's how I landed on the 1661. Because, and then I went back and looked at that and the history of it, and I was like, yeah, where like no matter what the composition is, the characters are the star. And this idea, like for me, like what we all as a crew tried to do was create an environment where you as the viewer feel like what I feel like when I'm in New York City. That was the whole hope, and because that also is what you kind of feel like when you're up on a stage. New York is in your face constantly, sonically, visually. There's just nothing like it, and it's vertical. At least where I live downtown, it's pretty vertical, and so it all sort of stemmed from that, and then it's like, can we do all that within this frame? And then you have to get incredible actors. But that's how all that happened, and then quite honestly, it was just like, what do I have a connection with? The Cellar, the Olive Tree, 6 to 12, Bar 6, my daughter's school. I mean, really, it was like, I want to be able to authentically share my experience of New York. And we, Kevin Thompson is an incredible production designer who I had the opportunity to work with on Maestro. He so happily, for me, came aboard, and his whole team, and we had great, all the people for scouting, and we just kept looking, and New York is a treasure chest, and very, very little was shot on the stage, and we had to for the rebate, obviously, but yeah, I mean, the whole point was to have, New York, that feeling for you, and much like Maestro, it was a similar way, a different time period. Yeah.
And if I may add also just, the gift, the treasure trove of this film festival, what it's meant to us growing up, falling in love with cinema because of this film festival, loving the films that we grew up on that were shot in New York City, the filmmakers and actors, performances that inspired us, to look over at best friends and your family is like holding a camera and it's 1 a.m. and we're in New York City in front of the cellar making something together, like, oh my God, we get to make movies. Like you feel so lucky, and the city just provides this longing to make art, and always has. And so
We're like stealing stuff too. I mean, it was a small budget, so like that shot of him crossing 6th Avenue, I'm on a seatbelt on a dolly handheld with nothing shut off from the street. That's all actual traffic. And there's just a cop there. We're like, is it okay? He's like, yeah, you got 10 minutes. We're like, okay.
Yeah, so that was dodging, trying to go through the bike lane, and the guys are coming up the bike lane with deliveries, and we're like, okay, the guy's got the dolly practicing. We shot some stuff going up that we stole going up the West Side Highway.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if there's any cops here, but at one point we're driving on the West Side Highway, and Bradley's on the dash shooting me, and he's barely like this, and I'm like, there's a cop, and it was like that, and that's so exciting,
Okay, that's good. Cry. Breathe, cry. Don't worry about the cop. Go.
he's not exaggerating.
One thing I didn't know is like the lens box up when you're operating, so like I can't even see the lens box trying to just, it's great.
So good. I was thinking about I'm so deaf. And Bradley,
That's the other thing, you can't hear.
So people would go, all right, blah, 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 and Bradley would be operating, and he'd go, he can't hear you. And he'd yell at me, I'm a foot away from him. Thank you, got it, okay, let's go.
Can you talk a little bit more about the sound and the music design? And there's a lot of silences also for a very noisy city, but you're using the silences when you're like going close to the character, and then there's a noise coming back, and then some tracks, and that's probably a lot of like real sound or.
Oh yeah, it's funny because I've had the opportunity to work with the same sound team. First of all, Steve Morrow, who is incredible, who I've been working forever. He's able to create scenes where there's everybody's mic'd and there's 60 channels, so you never have to stop talking when people are talking. That's all actually happening. Everything in the cellar, that's all happening. They have to yell over each other to talk. But then you get to the mix of the movie, where you isolate the people talking, and you have to recreate all that sound. And it was funny because I mixed in LA on stage 10, which I love. And then the music supervisor, not the music, the music mixer, the sound mixer, I can't remember his name, like Dane's title. And there was all like cars racing, and I'm like, that's not what New York sounds like anymore. I was like, it's all scooters. I was like, there's no engines. It was really interesting. So he went back and re-recorded, spent like 7 days, and it was like New York is a growing organism. It changes sonically. So that was so, because I'm watching, I'm like, this is not the way New York sounds at all. I feel like I'm watching like Fort Apache the Bronx, that movie called and so yeah, it was interesting just to learn. I wasn't even aware of that soundscape, that how much it had evolved since the late 90s for me, even living in New York then. It's just a plethora. And visually, to me, downtown New York, when I first moved to the West Village and lived there, I always felt like, to me, it always looked like a Christmas tree. There's all the just different lights, and that was one thing that Maddie and I talked about. It's like, what does nightlife look like in New York downtown? To me, it's just Christmas, like Christmas lights. Like when I was a kid and we would go and drive in cars and look at the houses at night with my parents and my sister. And then, that's what I love about McDougal. I love that street is just magical with all the neon signs of different colors. So New York just kept telling us what to do.
I have one last question for you, and we can open it up to the audience. It seems very difficult for you to write jokes and stand up, so. No, it's a joke.
Thank you.
He's not good. They tell him he's not good. It's in the movie.
Thank you very much.
Everybody says how bad he is.
Crazy compliment.
Will is much funnier than Alex, as I'm sure you know. So it was quite an acting feat to play this character. Truly, it was like, I was always like, oh wow, like he's so real, and no one's acting in this movie. He's so real, and I was like, I hope people realize, like, they know how funny Will is, right? Because he is the funniest guy. Like Zach Galifianakis, Will Arnett, and Fred Armisen to me, Martin Short, like those guys, like killers. You walk in a room, like you just want to listen to them talk. So for him to play this guy Alex, you know, for me it's so amusing. You know, he's still funny, but he's not Will Arnett funny. And that was a real testament that he was able to dive in and do that.
Well, thank you.
We got one clap.
Boy, this better land with an intro like that. You know, we did have, it was that progression of Alex as a stand-up was really important to us. And, you know, as Bradley pointed out when we first started this process, he's not the Michael Jordan of comedy. So, you know, the first time he goes on stage, he's never been in front of a mic, in front of people before. And then you see him progressively get comfortable. You know, there were moments and there were parts of sets that we shot where the joke was too good. It was too clean, that we'd written, that we'd worked on, that landed, that actually made people who were there actually watching laugh. We're like,
That was the other thing. We didn't like everything we put in. We never put in any laughs. Like everything you hear is actually what's there.
yeah, it's all done.
The cellar, it's all people that work there. That's all the crew. Liz, that is the manager of the cellar.
The manager comes in and says, those are all people, and all those comics are real comics who are there that we encountered there.
Except for Maddie.
Except for Maddie Leventique, who's a great stand-up. But so that was obviously a very narrow target to hit, to increase it, you know, to get right. That's you know, I'm not a stand-up comedian, but have been sort of comedy adjacent, if you will. Even that's generous. For many years, and so just trying to understand what that progression would be for somebody who's never done it before and doesn't have that background at all.
One funny thing was when Dave Attell comes up, because I was up there, right? Because we stay up there and we see Tess leave with Laird, and then it's all from that stage. So when Dave Attell came up, he was so funny that I just kept cheering him.
You basically have enough to Dave
and then early on, and as I'm working on the editing of the movie, there's like 2.5 minutes of just Dave Attell's set, and I was like, I don't know. I mean, it's New York. You gotta see.
Oh my God.
I'm like, no, Will, trust me, it works.
He has this whole bit about a guy making him a Subway sandwich and asking the guy to take the gloves off. He's like, raw dog me that sandwich. And we're like, wow, that's a great bit. But it doesn't work. It's
gonna kill me to get rid of it. He was so funny.
So funny.
But I'm so happy you brought up the question, because I think you're being incredibly humble in the process that you both walked through, even throughout rehearsal, getting the privilege of watching Will get up, saying his name was Alex, and just show up doing stand-up at a few different clubs, and trying to refine and work that material as a guy who'd never done it before, saying it was his first time. And the audience, many of them just being with him, allowing him to be this guy, not, you know.
Especially when they were all tourists, they had no idea who Will Arnett is. It was great. So it was like, it was real. It was a real bomb.
But
There were some great bombs. We went one night. We did, to what Laura said, we for all the way through prep, every night we'd go and do, I'd go and do a set, sometimes 3 times a night, often down in the cellar, different places, and
we went to Austin, to the
we
mothership.
went to Austin, the mothership in Austin, Texas, with Shane Gillis and some people, and met all these great comics. And one night got out there and did a set, which was a set that was a lot of jokes that were sort of further in the film, that were maybe better and kind of funnier and had some appeal, and killed. Just great. It was amazing. Everybody's laughing. We walked upstairs to Bradley, and I'm like, this is amazing. Maybe I'll do
We were like levitating. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna direct your special. You know, I think we should call Ted Sarandos. And I was like, I think you do Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, and we were so excited. And then Liz comes over, who's in the film as the nanny playing herself, and she goes, you can do another set, at the Underground in 5 minutes. We walk around the corner, we go out, get on stage, boom. And the only person laughing is Bradley and our friend Bob in the back, dying because I'm bombing and cannot recover. And it was,
crickets, like quieter than you guys are.
Yeah.
But to the point of not just the bravery and humility of going through the process in the comedy, to get to look in this man's eyes, and with the fierce commitment and love of Bradley in finding this love story, the emotional trust and availability and willingness. It's like, this is the greatest dance partner any girl could ever ask for as an actor. So that was a very beautiful, incredible acting opportunity for me, and really beautiful to have Bradley hold us in it. It was really incredible, through rehearsal all the way through every day of work together. And it takes a lot of bravery to be, willing to be pure and, and simple in truth. And so I really revere that and the experience we had.
We're going to take some audience question. There's a microphone coming.
I just had a question for Will and Bradley about the story. I was wondering about your decision not to include any of Alex's.
Where he works?
Yeah, like alluding that he's.
Where are you?
Fine. I'm here. Sorry.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Yeah, like the decision not to include any scenes of him at his day job in contrast to the rest
That's
of
a
the
great
work.
Oh, it's totally by design. I mean,
Oh yeah, that's a great question. That one of the early things, it was like, when you think about structuring or shooting, what you want to share, it's like, at least to me as a viewer, if I'm watching something, I'm always thinking of it like in a derivative way, like, oh yeah, that's like that movie, or that's that story, or that, at least to me. And it's like, I don't want to, this movie's not about a guy who's unhappy in his profession. He's not miserable at work, and he's got to find another thing, and like it's not about that. And I feel like there's no need to do it. Like, why am I going there? I don't want to meet his other coworkers. Like, it's fine. It's not what the story's about. The story's about this, And I was like, I don't want to put any real estate to that because I don't even want to be thinking about that. All I need to know is I work in finance. He wears suits. He drops his kids off. He goes to school, and it's also based on people that I know. It's not so much that they're unhappy in their jobs. It's that they're not really comfortable with who they are. And it's not necessarily just their job that's telling them that, and how they feel about their job, it's their life. So that was the conscious choice. It's like, I want this to be very clear. It's not, my friend said it, that the movie, which I thought was really good, it's like, it's a midlife catharsis, it's not crisis. It's not like he's sitting there, he's this guy, and it's like his job, and it's like the boss is telling him that's not this movie.
and we've seen that story. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the reason. Does that make sense? No? Okay. I made a mistake.
Hi, this question is for Bradley. I wanted to ask, what was the most surprising thing you learned about yourself while making this movie?
Oh, that's a great question.
Cameras are really heavy.
Cameras are heavy. Venice is a heavy camera. I've always had a big sort of butt and glutes, and thank God that finally there's a good reason for it. Used to feel ashamed about that, and I'm like, oh yeah.
Your microphone's on.
Oh, is it? Oh, I thought it was at your house. You know what it was? It's like, so this is the third sort of movie doing this way, writing and directing it. So I was surprised at how at ease I was doing this, how just relaxed I was, and because of that, and that is the goal. And I was like, oh yeah, the more relaxed I can be, the more efficient I can help everyone else be and myself in utilizing the time we have allotted in the day. And that actually started with the writing process all the way through the post process. So I surprised myself how relaxed I was through the whole thing.
Would you have been that relaxed if you switched the roles?
Meaning if I played his role, I would have been a mess. but the other thing that really helps, and I'm sure everybody can relate to that, is like, it's all about the community of people. And so much of the crew, we'd all worked together before, and these are like, and Will and Laura, these are like dear friends for decades. So that comfort level when you come to work and you see this person that you've been through everything together, they know everything about you, everything. These two people know every single thing I've ever been through, and that's like, then you get to make art with them. You know, that's what you dream of.
One more.
Hi, congratulations on the film, it was really wonderful. My question is for Will and Laura, and I was wondering, kind of you guys were talking about the way that it was shot and how the camera was so close to you, and it was like very intimate, I think was the word that you were using. So I was wondering if, or I'm sure it was, but how was your performance affected, or what did you have to change when working with a camera so close to you in some scenes, and with each other being so intimate and close to each other?
Yeah, also a great question. I think, you know, it demanded certainly you have to concentrate, but I think as Bradley sort of alluded to, we were all so close, and the conversation around what we were doing, and we were all sort of going in the same direction, because it felt so natural. It's not a, it was so non-performative in that way, so it wasn't, you know, it wasn't the sort of the standard, you know, quiet down, roll sound, everybody quiet, and action. It was a much more sort of natural, you know, the way that you sort of rolled into shooting was very, very natural, and you basically forgot that it was there. You know, again, having Bradley so close to us, it was a conversation that would start as we were rolling, and then he'd put the camera on, we'd start rolling, and because of that, it created this ease, and there was a lot of trust, as Bradley said, between all of us because we know each other, so that trust permeated its way into the scenes, I think, and so it actually, strangely enough, was a lot easier and felt a lot more natural and less performative, I think.
Totally agreed, right? I just would just add, Bradley and I had spoken a lot. I want to thank the festival for paying such beautiful homage to David Lynch. This festival, and we had spoken about a film I had done with him, Inland Empire, which was the only other experience I had where my director was right there with the camera. But because Bradley, as an actor and as our family, knows us so well and feels the instincts with us in character, it was like, guys, when he's talking about Christmas, it's like Christmas on steroids. The most fun of your life to be in it and feel an instinct as an actor that you catch up to after the take is done, and you go, oh man, maybe I should try. And if you're lucky, the director comes up and goes, yeah, did you feel that thing? Maybe you should say such and such. You're in it, and he's whispering it to you right here because he's feeling the instinct. He's seeing it come up in you. And sometimes he'll be like, tell her you're gonna cry.
Turn around right now. Turn around right now. Go grab the thing. And that starts, and as you go, and she's not exaggerating, you know, look over there. But as that would happen, and then of course naturally the progression is you would start doing things, and intuitively you become like this, almost this single unit, especially throughout the course of the day in a scene. And the camera would move, and the way that you never, there was no disconnect. You became this one big organism. It's like I said, in all those scenes we had with a lot of people as well, everybody, it became this big organism, and Bradley created this sandbox, as he said, and the camera was just another character in that way, and it was very, very natural and organic.
And with everyone, as you said, so the bliss of looking in these two extraordinary actors' eyes, you know, that he did it, whatever the pairing was, where the community was, we had that space to just be in.
So in short, no, it was easy.
Yeah, super easy.
Sorry, just if you want to quote her.
Unfortunately, that's all we have time for responding, but we are so happy to have you back.
Thank you for having us. You could.
Thank you.
Thank you.